Hello guys, Shoigu Gerasimov, where are you? This was the question previously asked by the former head of the Wagner Group army in Russia, Yevgeny Prigozhin, who was neutralized after his very short coup against Putin. And I hope that sometime soon all of these people, Putin, Prigozhin, Gerasimov and Shoigu, will be together continuing their special military operation in hell, where they belong. But right now I received some questions on the channel, are there any updates about these evil people? And I think that actually Putin's attitude to them demonstrates serious problems in the plan of Putin's war against Ukraine that turns out to be Russian war inside Russia. Some of you lucky people may not know that Shoigu was the former Minister of Defense in Russia, actually since 2012, fired in 2024. And Gerasimov is the commander-in-chief of the Russian army, and actually when Russian propagandists like Solovyov were speaking about the need to fire and arrest commanders in the Russian army after the failure in Kursk region, they meant Gerasimov. So let's have a look what is happening in the miserable lives of these miserable people who are actually with International Criminal Court orders for their arrest. My name is Anna, I'm from Ukraine, I'm in Ukraine, and if you want to see the Kremlin defeated, Gerasimov, Shoigu joined Prigozhin together with Putin, subscribe, we will discuss that on the channel sometime soon. And let's start with Shoigu. Shoigu was the Minister of Defense in Russia since 2012, so for more than 12 years until he failed the special military operation. What is more interesting and may seem quite unusual for you, Shoigu never ever served in the Russian or Soviet army. So he literally had no experience, and the only reason why he was the head of the ministry for so long and depicted as the hero of many wars, because he was extremely loyal to Putin. And this helped him gather a huge amount of money. He is definitely a millionaire, if not billionaire, yes, in dollars, of course, because like now almost everyone is a millionaire in rubles, taking into account the price you get for 1 ruble and with all the inflation coming the Russian way. Shoigu had a lot of his relatives in the parliament of Russia, his daughters married to various oligarchs and politicians, and what is interesting, since the start of the full-scale invasion, many of his relatives actually fled Russia and stay somewhere in Dubai. This was one of the reasons why Prigozhin in his videos during his work around Bakhmut claimed that Shoigu should not be the minister, and actually they had a very serious clash that might have inspired Prigozhin to start this march to Moscow. Many of you remember that. We had some expectations, but no. Unfortunately, Russians won't be able to stop Russians. It is our duty. Okay, I'm really bad at pronouncing bad words, and Shoigu is a bad word. So he was fired in 2024 and now serves in the Council of Security. And recently Shoigu was on a very big tour to the greatest Russia's allies, and these are the North Korea and Iran. I think it is super sad when you realize that your partners are North Korea and Iran, countries isolated with sanctions, countries that are not countries at all, taking into account the way they treat their own population. I don't know anyone who wants to move to North Korea or Iran. And he also visited Syria, and all because Russia desperately needs the support of these countries. I don't think that in any aspect we can describe them as successful, but they produce a lot of weapons. That's their only way to continue threatening the world. And right now, actually, lots of Russian military vloggers claim that the majority of missiles that Russia targets on Ukraine are of the Iranian and North Korean production, which demonstrates how weak Russian military industry is, even with all the effort that Putin and his people put into it. Subscribe to see the collapse of the Russian economy and Putin, Shoigu, Prigozhin, Gerasimov together. What is funny, there is even a museum of Shoigu in his native town, which once again reminds us that all of these dictators and their criminal friends are about the cults, are about the worship, but with all this psychosis around them, usually it collapses also very quickly. Gerasimov is the chief commander of the Russian army, and when recently Russian propagandists were shouting how dissatisfied they are with the failure of Russia to protect its own borders in Kursk region, they demanded the chief commander to be fired. And there were lots of rumors, did they mean Putin? Well, according to the Russian I cannot say laws, but something, Putin is the general commander. And the commander of the Russian army, the chief commander, is Gerasimov. Gerasimov is actually the author of the doctrine of the hybrid war, modern Russian type. And many Ukrainian military commanders claim that he perhaps is the only one with a more or less military outlook designing some of Russia's operations. Because whenever Putin interferes, and you know it happens with dictators that they start thinking they know better, they can do anything, starting, I don't know, from art and finishing with warfare. So Gerasimov developed this doctrine. He had some scientific works, and in them he described that in modern wars there is no serious difference between the war and peace, and it all happens very slowly, that you cannot identify the moment when the war against a particular country or a group of countries starts. This is what actually makes Russian war against the Western values so ugly. And I guarantee you, as a Ukrainian, I definitely see signs how Russia, China, North Korea, Iran are already fighting this hybrid Third World War. Gerasimov also has an international criminal court order issued for his war crimes in Ukraine. And definitely for the restored world order, for the restored respect of the international laws and agreements that we need to preserve the planet for the future generations, he must be imprisoned sometime soon. Right now, Gerasimov has serious troubles because he promised Putin on the 7th of August, if I'm not mistaken, to retain control of over the Kursk region in just a couple of days. Well, 2 months have passed, and the majority of settlements are under the control of the Ukrainian armed forces, and we do not see any serious counteroffensive operations happening in the region. Russia accepted this loss, and this is another signal. No, there are no red lines for Putin. He only bluffs, because this is what bullies do. This is what cowardly criminals do. They undermine agreements, they disrespect laws, but they cannot protect their own territories. They do not control their own borders. They are totally dependent on the supplies of other authoritarian regimes like North Korea. There are rumors that soon North Korean soldiers will come to fight in Ukraine, which is another very vivid symptom that Russia is running out of meat. And I feel very sorry for these people coming to the front lines, totally exhausted, hungry, and with no knowledge about like the weather, the realities of this war. Sure, like that's a tragedy, but that's a tragedy to be born in North Korea or Russia. And right now, we can clearly see that the number of people arrested from the close circle of Shoigu, the disrespect to Gerasimov that is spread all over Russian news, demonstrates that despite all this imitations that everything goes according to the plan, more and more people in Russia realize that no Russian special military operation is failing and war is returning back home. We can definitely name 10, 15 Russian regions that are under constant attack of Ukrainian drones that demilitarize the territory, making Russia a safer place both for Ukrainians, Russians, and the world. And I do not have any expectations for the Russian population, unfortunately. The history taught us. But maybe oligarchs and other criminals around Putin, FSB agents, will be worried with this very vivid weakness that Russian army and Russian government and Russian dictator demonstrate to other authoritarian regimes that are watching carefully. And this is a dictator's world. They do not support each other there. They only play together and then eat each other. So hopefully sometime soon all of these monsters will eat each other, starting from Shoigu, Gerasimov, and finishing with Russia and North Korea in general. Subscribe to see that. Please join me on Instagram, X, Threads, and Discord. Check our merch shop for lots of really good items that work well as reminders and conversation starters, and all the links that you need are in the description of this video. Thank you for buying me coffees, becoming my sponsors and patrons of the channel, and helping me film and write more. Soon I will share more of the interesting projects coming, and I'm very grateful to have you in my life. But most importantly, thank you for all the conversations that you hold to persuade people to continue the support of Ukraine. Thank you for all the work that you do. We feel that we are grateful, and together we will win. Slava Ukraini!